Brenner Mills, Minnesota Vikings. Just want to win one before I die.
Lane Cooner, the conductor of the Baker train.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Wide Eye Sports Podcast. You got your boy Bren hosting as always. We got your boy Spoon on the mic. And if you tune into the video, you know what this is about. We're gonna go over everything from the divisional round. We're gonna preview the championship games. We're gonna take a look at a little bit of everything that happened this past weekend and everything that's gonna happen this upcoming weekend. Spoon, just your overall thoughts on the divisional round.
It was fun to watch. Some exciting games for sure. Some more exciting than others.
Preach.
100%. I did enjoy the snow game. Like Sunday was just a great day.
Sunday was awesome.
Sunday was phenomenal. But
Saturday started terrible but ended great. And then Sunday,
in your opinion, it ended great.
It did end great. It ended great. Everybody agrees. It ended great. But real quick, before we get started and we get too deep into the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We really appreciate that. Just takes a second. We're just trying to grow the channel, so we really appreciate you guys doing that. But without further ado, let's get into this. Let's start with Houston at Kansas City. Let's go in order of the games here. Let's start with Houston at Kansas City. I got a few notes, so I'm just going to read off my notes, and then I'll turn the floor over to you. You can give your thoughts, and we'll talk about it, all right?
Okay.
All right. So Houston at Kansas City, my number one takeaway by a mile was penalties. By a mile. Okay. Kansas City got pivotal help on 4 of its 5 scoring drives. And what I mean by pivotal help is a pivotal penalty that either occurred on a third down or it moved them into scoring range that was a questionable call. Okay, these aren't like, oh, he was obviously holding right there. This was like, really? You're going to call that roughing the passer? And that happened on 4 of their 5 scoring drives. Now, they did have one scoring drive, field goal late in the game that was completely, all them, which is fine. I've said a lot this season. They're a really good team. They don't need the extra help that they continue to get for some weird reason. And I'm not trying to say the only reason they won is penalties, but a big reason for why they won was definitely penalties. They were following a very specific trend this weekend. They were outgained by Houston by over 100 yards, and they won the game still. I don't know. I took penalties away from this game. I felt that Houston played better. I felt Houston was a better team overall, aside from 2 or 3 plays. And the score did not reflect who was the better team. What do you think?
So, you could blame it on the refs. I'm right there with you. You saw my messages that I was sending in the group chat.
Yep.
Definitely wasn't entertaining to watch. It didn't help the case at all.
Yeah.
What really bothered me was I'm not a Mahomes hater. I haven't came in here and been like, oh yeah, like Mahomes is just terrible. Like I can't stand him. But from what I saw, there was one play that really stood out in my mind, and I'm just like, wow, what a dickhead.
Which one?
So I'm looking for the play right now. I've seen it so many times on Twitter.
The flop? Are you talking about the flop?
The flop. The one where he's going out of bounds and he literally slows down right as he gets just before he goes out of bounds, almost to a complete stop. Yeah, and then waits for the contact. They push him and then he flops to the ground. And I'm just sitting there like, bro, like now you're trying to draw a penalty. And I'm in my living room screaming at my TV saying, don't fucking call that. Do not fucking call that.
It's like watching James Harden.
I'm glad that they didn't. Yeah, it is like watching James Harden just about.
It's like watching James Harden in the NBA, and everybody got sick of it. And the NBA's ratings reflect that heavily now, and how, the NFL dominates.
And then the second roughing the passer call, you can make that same argument that he's literally running around.
Well, the first roughing the passer call, he hits him, like his face mask goes right into his shoulder. Does his helmet touch his face mask? 100%. Is it forcible contact? 0%.
But no, the second one was also kind of like, oh, he's trying to find the penalty. And so you literally see him like watching the defense like, as he runs up 3-4 yards past the line of scrimmage, and then he just quickly
he
goes to the
ducks at
ground
the last second to
to try to draw it. And I'm just like, dude, like after seeing that, the two plays that I just talked about, after seeing that one and the one where he flops, I'm just like, man, like he's making it hard to like him anymore now. After watching that.
He's obviously the best player in the world for the past 5 years. Like, there's no question about it.
Oh, no question, best quarterback in.
Yeah, nobody is gonna question that. And you could even say 6 years potentially. And it's hard to watch that style of play and go, oh yeah, root for that guy, unless you're a Chiefs fan, which obviously you're gonna root for your team. But it makes it really hard as fans of just football and watching a game where I have no stake. I would argue I have more stake in Kansas City because I have friends, family, all these people who I love that are big Kansas City fans. So I have more stake invested in Kansas City than anybody. And watching them play, it's like, man, come on, for real? Like, that's for that, really you're gonna give that? Really you're gonna call that? Really you're gonna do that? And it's not enjoyable to watch. And it's not even that, like, everybody's talking about how, like, the role reversal, right? Like it used to be the Patriots and everybody hated the Patriots. I didn't hate the Patriots for being great. Like, I've never hated teams just for being great. Like, that's never been something. I loved watching Brady. We were watching history. And to a certain extent, I love watching the Chiefs for the same reason of we're witnessing history. We're witnessing the only potential three-peat in NFL history. That's awesome, in my opinion. But the way it's getting done is so bogus and so just flat. I just hate watching. So I agree with you. Little bias for that.
So I do believe that Houston definitely should have. I mean, their defense held them to 23 points. Houston definitely should have put up a few more points. So I'm not saying that's completely the reason why they lost.
Yeah.
Like, Houston's still got to move the ball down the field. But at the same time, like, you take away those two bogus, unnecessary roughness penalties. Those both happened on scoring drives. One ended in a touchdown. The other one ended in a field goal. You take those away, maybe the Texans get a stop, and now it's a 14-13 game, Houston's favor. The other one that really stood out to me, while we're doing this real quick, it was I believe it was in the third quarter. It might have been the fourth quarter. It was the Houston Texans' second to last, like, real drive that they had. The drive right before the blocked field goal. 3rd and 6, shotgun, C.J. Stroud pass, short left to Nico Collins. They showed the replay. Nico Collins was being held the whole time. Literally, before the ball gets there, the defender, I can't think of what his name was, but he grabs his back left arm, literally holding it down. Then the ball gets there, and I'm just like, okay. So
that one I will jump to the Chiefs' defense in that one, just because they have been letting that, like, the whole Vikings-Rams game, JJ and Jordan Addison were being mugged down the field, 40 yards downfield, being bear hugged. So, like, that's been, like, the MO of the refs this playoffs, is they've been letting that kind of stuff go. I don't know if it's through the league directive, like they're saying, hey, let them fight a little more, let them play a little bit more. I don't know.
Right.
But
well, I thought they were doing that for the roughing the passer too. I was sitting there, I was like, oh, they're letting some of this go, especially the previous week. I thought that, but then if you're going to sit there and call that, and you're going to nitpick that stuff, you got to nitpick everything, my guy.
Well, the first roughing the passer on Mahomes, that New York needed to step in on that one. That one from the referee's angle in the back, right? The back judge. That looked like roughing the passer. He hits him in the shoulder, and Mahomes throws his head back. It's a full head flop. Like, the body doesn't flop, but the head throws back. He never touches him in the head. So I don't blame the ref for throwing that flag. But as the NFL, you have to step in and be like, okay, we can clearly see on replay he hits him right here, like right in this area, and he doesn't create any forcible contact to the head. That's not roughing the passer. Continue on. Like, why have that tool if you're not going to utilize it, especially in playoff football? So, but we've lingered on that.
Well, I was going to say, the last point I was going to make was, I see people also talking about the hip drop penalty and how that tackle should have been that. And honestly, they've only called it one time this whole year. I don't really care about that.
I'm not mad about that. No. I mean, I like to poke fun at Chiefs fans by sending it around, but, like, I'm not legitimately upset by that. I think that's kind of a dumb rule in general. How the fuck are you supposed to tackle Derrick Henry when you're chasing him down from behind? Like, he's just going to hold you on his back and run. Like, it's a dumb rule. But all right, let's move
On to the
on.
next game.
Washington at Detroit. What a shocker. What a
Yeah, this one
shocker.
was
Oh,
pretty shocking.
this was so good. I had money on Detroit, won't lie, won't front. Had money on Detroit, and I had zero problems losing that money. I was stoked with losing that money, honestly. Yeah, Washington comes through, takes on Detroit, and I'm gonna say this right now. We did a film breakdown on Jaden Daniels last week. Go check it out on the channel. And in that video, Spoon, I said several times, I mean, look how calm this kid looked. Like, look how calm and just cool, collected. And, like, they were throwing bodies at him the same way they threw bodies at Sam Darnold in that Viking game. And he was just staring them in the eyes and going, cool. And throwing right over the top of them. Super calm,
Yep.
no issues, and just dotting up the field left and right. Absolute MVP of the week for me, Jaden Daniels. He looks like he's been playing in the playoffs for 5-6 years. I mean, he just looks so calm. He looks so collected. And I can't. I'm hyped on Jaden. I am hyped on this kid. I love this. He's my QB1 coming out of the draft. I love it. I think he's going to be really good for a really long time. My biggest thing with him was, we talked pre-draft and how, he's done everything Lamar Jackson did in college. He just did it in the current SEC instead of the ACC, which Lamar did it in. I thought that was so much more impressive. And I think you're seeing that translate to the NFL. He's as poised as it gets. He's accurate. He's mobile. He doesn't, no moment's too big. Now, I will say, as I have in my notes here, rookies are 0-5 in conference championship games in NFL history. So history is not on Jaden Daniels' side. But the Lions, they had their second worst defensive game of the year, only to the Bills game. They had an expected points added of -27 out of their defense. That is really bad. The only one worse was the Bills game, which was a -27. And pretty simply, they were 20th in yardage defense this year, the Lions were, and it caught up to them. And I know everybody's saying, like, the Lions, they had 16 players on IR. This is no wonder they got beat. Like, la la la. Yes, 16 players on IR is a lot to have. Most teams have somewhere between 8 and 12, and the Lions only had 4 starters on IR. So it's not like their entire defense was on IR. They had their starting D-end, their starting right and left DNs, so Aiden Hutchinson and Marcus Davenport, which Marcus Davenport's never played a healthy season, so that shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. Their D-tackle McNeil, and then their the one cornerback, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but they have a starting corner out. So yes, those are some pretty key positions, and I'm not going to pretend like they don't make an impact, but they don't make a impact in giving up 40 plus points. Maybe they give up 30 plus points and it's a closer game, but with those 4 players on the field, they're not holding them to 20 points. They're not cutting that in half, in my opinion. Detroit's defense has been suspect year in and year out. They came up huge this year, way better than I thought they could play. They played out of their minds. They did a great job. Scheme helped. Scheme only goes so far. They were hiding big player personnel gaps with scheme, win healthy and win not, and it finally caught up to them in the playoffs, like it normally does for every team. So I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts. Jaden Daniels had 350 total yards. Dude's insane. What you have any thoughts?
Yeah. So I mean, Jared Goff can't turn the ball over 4 times and expect to win. No. I mean, you got lucky. Well, it happened before.
If he would have turned it over 5 times, they probably would have won. They're undefeated when he turns the ball over 5 times.
I mean, he had a fumble, 3 interceptions. I mean, Jaden Daniels just looked. I mean, you said it. He looked way more comfortable in the pocket. He had no turnovers, and
on the road against a 15-win 1 seed, just no issues. Just gonna just dot, no problem.
But I mean, we've been talking all year on how this Detroit defense is a liability.
Susceptible. Yeah.
That's their big downfall, basically. A 15-2 team, terrible defense. We knew that if their offense struggled. 4 turnovers. That was the downfall for them.
Yeah. And
So, and
so the last thing I'll add with this before we move on to the next game is the Ben Johnson regret. You know what I'm talking about?
the regret.
Yeah, Ben Johnson had an opportunity to leave Detroit last year, and Washington wanted to bring him in as their new head coach. And he told Washington, no thanks, I'm good. You guys are an absolute wreck. You're a dumpster
Mm,
fire. Don't want anything to do with that job. Best of luck.
yeah.
Here we are.
Here we are with
So,
Dan Quinn now.
Dan Quinn. Next up, we have personal game of the week. Or wait, no. LA at Philadelphia. Sorry, got ahead of myself.
Yeah.
LA at
Yeah, LA at
Philadelphia.
Philly.
Yeah,
Yep.
LA at Philadelphia. The run game in the snow. I mean, there's no more to be said.
Not really.
It's exactly what we thought it would come down to. If it was snowing, Philly had the advantage. The Rams run a lot of quick hit. Like, they supplement their run game with a lot of quick passes, a lot of dink and dunk, schemey type plays. And they didn't work. Their receivers were dropping balls. They weren't getting accurate passes. They were getting very, yeah, they were changing up their game plan. The LA was because Philadelphia was allowing so much room to the receivers because of the snow that they were able to chunk off plays way more down the field. But then once you get into a short field scenario, you can't do that anymore. It becomes much harder. The snow doesn't help, and they weren't running the ball very well. And Saquon Barkley. That's all it came down to, is Saquon in the snow. And he had the opener, or not the opener, but he had one early, and he had the dagger. And
Yeah.
absolute dagger it was.
So yeah, I mean, this game probably would have been much more exciting, obviously, if the snow didn't hit.
Yeah.
Because this Rams team, they're a passing offense. Can they run the
Yeah.
ball? Yeah, they can run the ball, but they're pretty good at passing the ball. It just came down to who can run the ball. Who's the better rushing offense, and that's obviously the Eagles. The Eagles have the second highest rushing yards per game in the NFL, so they're going to end up winning it if that's all you can do. I mean, I watched it. There was tons of passes being dropped from both sides. You can't move the ball that way, especially whenever there's snow. So, and it was coming down like before. Like, the Rams should have tried something, or just done something a little different to try to go up at halftime, because as soon as halftime was over, the snow was just pouring.
Yeah,
it was all over the place.
For those of you who don't, care as much about the X's and O's football and just here for the drama, it really does affect how you can play the game. Because if I'm Cooper Kupp and I'm running a 15-yard in route and I'm down the field and I see the balls behind me just a little bit, I can slow up and catch that on the back shoulder. In the snow, that's gone. I can't get to that. I can't slow up that fast in the snow. There's no way I'm making that. And then it's a pick. So it's just, I will say, Eagles had
the Bills and the Rams, or the Bills and the Ravens. They played in the snow, and I remember seeing Lamar just slip and fall to the ground so many times because he couldn't.
Yeah, and theirs was more frost too. Theirs was even more like frost and less like falling snow.
Yeah.
But real quick before we move on to that game, the Eagles did have 2 fumbles, and the Rams had 3 fumbles. The difference was LA, 2 of their 3 fumbles went the other way. Philly got on both their fumbles. They recovered both of them. So a little bit of luck, a little bit of skill, and a whole lot of Saquon, and Philly's moving on. So, speaking of moving on, let's talk about it. The game of the week, the battle of MVPs, right? We have Lamar Jackson, Mr. Regular Season. You have Josh Allen. Did I say Lamar Jackson or Lamar Allen?
I think you said
swear
Lamar.
To God,
I thought you said
Lamar
Lamar
Allen.
Jackson.
Lamar Jackson. Either way. Total brain fart moment. You have Lamar Jackson, Mr. Regular Season, right? Probably about to win his 2nd straight, 3rd overall MVP. And then you have Josh Allen, who is nicknamed Superman because he can do it all. And you have this titanic buildup of this huge clash that's going to happen. And honestly, it was super underwhelming for the most part. Josh Allen played like Trent Green in the year 2000. Like, he just dink and dunk for like 6 yards here, behind the line of scrimmage here, behind the line of scrimmage there, 4 yards here. He had 1 pass over 7 yards all day. that was completed. He attempted 5, but only completed 1 of them all day. So I'm not gonna say like Josh Allen didn't do enough to win, because obviously he did enough to win. But I'm gonna say this: Mark Andrews cost the Ravens a trip to the Super Bowl. I think they beat the Chiefs, if they get to play the Chiefs, and 2 points on the final play, 3 points on the drive before that's 5 points, 5-point difference. Ravens win the game. And that really sucks. I really hate to see it. Now, Lamar also turned the ball over. He had the pick early in the game. I think it was, after watching it, I think it was a miscommunication, because he threw that deep and the receiver broke it off hard. So I think it was a miscommunication. And then the fumble. The fumble was the big one, because they got a touchdown. The pick, they forced a punt, no big deal,
Yeah.
no points. But the fumble, I mean,
Well, I
it's
mean,
hard.
unfortunately, they both happened on back-to-back drives too. You
Yeah,
literally had the
yeah.
interception, then you come back out on the field and Lamar fumbles the ball.
Yeah, and it was like, I don't get me wrong, I'm putting the blame on Lamar for fumbling the football. That I'm not trying to alleviate him of the blame, but it is really hard when it is 12 degrees outside and you go to do a play action handoff and you turn around and there is a blitzing DB running at you. So you step up and he gets a hand on you, gets your foot. So you try to break free of that, only to see a 300-pound D tackle running at you. So you try to spin away. I mean, he was just trying to do way too much. He just needed to take the sack, and because he didn't, he ended up fumbling. And that's on him. And yeah, if he doesn't fumble, no matter what, they win the game, right? If that change of possession doesn't happen right there and they don't go down and get the touchdown, no matter what. But there's also the possibility that they take the sack, they punt, and then Buffalo goes and scores anyways. So there's a potential that no matter if Lamar Jackson fumbles or not, they lose. But if Mark Andrews doesn't fumble late in the game and then drop the easiest catch of his life, the Ravens win that game.
Yep.
And it's, I mean, in worst case scenario, we're going into overtime. Is say they get the 2 point, right? And the Ravens are up 3. Josh Allen gets the ball with 1:40 left. They drive down, kick a field goal, or maybe they get a touchdown even to win the game outright, but they kick a field goal, we go to overtime. Maybe they still lose anyways. Not trying to say they guarantee would have won, but I think the odds are in their favor based on the fact that Buffalo couldn't really score in the second half. I think they had 0 third-quarter points and 2 field goals in the fourth quarter. They couldn't get a touchdown in the second half. The Ravens D stepped up big time. So yeah, that just kind of sucks. I felt like, I mean, if you don't mind, I'll read off the report. So Josh Allen was 16 of 22, 72% on the day. Pretty good. 2 total touchdowns, both rushing, both short yardage rushing touchdowns. Very Jalen Hurts-esque. That's something we don't talk about. We give Jalen Hurts a lot of credit for the tush push merchant. Josh Allen scores a lot of rushing touchdowns from the 3, the 4, the 2, and nobody ever talks about that. But nonetheless, 2 touchdowns, which I'm not going to take away from him. 147 total yards and a 2.0 yard per carry. So on rushes, he was averaging 2 yards a carry. He wasn't throwing the ball very much. I think he had 132 total passing yards. He was 1 of 5 on passes over 7 yards. He had 16 of, the other 16 pass attempts he had were under 7 yards. And 8 of those were behind the line of scrimmage. So very high completion percentage plays. And then you have Lamar Jackson on the other side. Also 72% on the day, 18 of 25. He had 254 passing yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, one of which was I think a 35-yard touchdown to potentially tie the game late in the fourth quarter. He did have the interception and he did have the fumble. But he also had 293 total yards, so add on some rushing yards there to his passing total. And he averaged 6.5 yards a carry on the ground, so he was much more impactful in the run game than Josh Allen was. And the Baltimore Ravens outgained the Buffalo Bills 416 yards to 273. That is crazy. So I do put, if I had to do like a pie chart where we assigned blame, I would put 35% of it on Lamar because he's the quarterback, right? So you get 20% just for being the quarterback, and then you get another 15% for that fumble. But I would put over 50% of it on Mark Andrews alone.
That's fair.
You got any thoughts?
No, not really. I mean, you basically said it. Mark Andrews, he can't turn the ball over in midfield like that, and then he also can't drop it ended up being like a 4 yard pass. I mean, I know
No,
it's
it was
from
a
the
two.
two. I
It
know
was
it's
a
from the
two.
two, but
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Like,
he rolled out and he ended
yeah.
up. It's still like it's
I
like
mean,
a 4 yard pass. Like you
he was
got to make
probably
that.
11 yards away, all in all,
Yeah.
with like angles and everything. He's probably 11 yards away, but it hit him right in the It touched his numbers, and he had like it. He had both hands on it, and it touched his numbers, and he still somehow managed to just like throw it away. And and I feel bad for the guy because everybody's gonna look at next season.
Oh, now everybody wants him out. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Everybody does not. They
Well,
want
he's
nothing
due
to do
like
with Mark Andrews.
$18 million next year.
Oh God, what?
So they're gonna look at that and they're gonna go, okay, let's restructure. And his camp's gonna be like, yeah, no, I had like 10 touchdowns last year. I think is exactly. I can't remember exactly. I'm gonna try to pull it up here, but I know after like week. Let's see here. I'm pulling it up right here. I got it. Touchdowns. Mark Andrews.
11.
Okay, only had like 5. I thought he had more than that.
Oh
no, he had
I'm
11.
counting 11.
He had 11. He had 11. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong row. He had 11 receiving touchdowns. They're going to be like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and say we deserve our money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, okay, then we're going to cut you. And so everybody's going to be like, well, they cut him because he dropped that, ball in the end zone. And then nobody's going to touch him. And then he's going to go somewhere and have a good season. And some team's going to get him on a huge discount because of that. But
I mean, shit, please come to the Cowboys. I mean, I'll take you. I don't care. I need something. I mean, I'll take a drop pass or a fumble every once in a while for what we got.
I watched that, and I just had, I don't remember if you remember this. I can't remember the guy's name, but they had a very similar thing happen. The Ravens did in, like, the mid-2000s in a playoff game where the dude, like, caught the ball over his shoulder and, like, was in the end zone and going to tuck it away and raise his other hand like he scored. And then the Patriots guy strips him of the ball and he drops it, and they call it no touchdown to win the game. Like, walk off. No time on the clock, and that was called incomplete, and I just totally shades of that. And I was like, oh wow, poor Ravens fans. I feel so bad. Poor Lamar Jackson. I just feel he did. I don't feel like other than 2 plays, I feel like there was nothing more he could have done in that game to win. On the road in Buffalo against a great team that I, for one, was wrong about. I thought they were going to be a garbage team. They're a great team. They have, I believe the final 3 of the final 4 teams are just so good. I can't say they will win the Super Bowl. I could easily see a world where it happens. All right. You got anything to add? Oh, yeah.
No, I was going to say, let's move on to the championships.
I was about to say, anything to add before we move on to the championship games? Good deal. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the championship games. We have the AFC and NFC championship. You cool starting NFC first?
That's fine. That's the first game.
Cool. All right. So just a few news and notes. I got a little note written down here. Like I said earlier, rookies 0-5 in conference championship games. The Cousins curse is still well in effect for Philadelphia, in my opinion. And if you don't know what that is, no team that has ever lost to Kirk Cousins in the regular season has ever won the Super Bowl the same season. And I know what you're going to say. Yeah, but how many teams did Kirk? I mean, Kirk beat the Niners the past 2 seasons in the regular season, and both year the Niners were like a heavy favorite to win the Super Bowl, in which, guess what happened? They didn't win the Super Bowl. So there's been good teams that have succumbed to the Cousins curse. NFC East showdown, Spoon. I mean, this has got to be like,
and the Cowboys are not in it.
I mean, my worst nightmare was that the Packers and the Lions would be in the NFC Championship against each other. That was one of my worst fears.
I mean, I'll tell the fans at home who I want to win. I want the Bills to win the Super Bowl. I would love nothing more than Josh Allen to win the Super Bowl.
I can't do that yet. I can't have them win a Super Bowl, dude. I lost 4 Super Bowls first. I get to win a Super Bowl first. That's the rules, okay? I have had to suffer 20 years. My fandom has had to suffer for 20 years longer than theirs has with the same amount of Super Bowl losses. We get a Super Bowl, and then I will be all in on Buffalo getting a Super Bowl the next year. I just want one. They can have 5 straight after that. I just want one. Just
You
one.
just want to know what it feels like.
I just want one. I just want one Super Bowl. That's all I really want.
Wait. So for my big takeaway on this game is let's look at how the Commanders have done so far. Now, yes, that they're winning. They're playing phenomenal football. But go to the wild card round. First week of the playoffs, the Commanders were the only team that won that also gave up 20 points or more. Let's go to the division round. They're the only team that won that gave up 30 points or more. I think this is the week we see the Commanders' defense finally catch up to them, and it's going to cost them big against this Philadelphia Eagles run game. The Philadelphia Eagles are probably – I see Saquon popping off again. This rushing defense allows the 30th most rushing yards per game, with that being the Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely expect Saquon to have another big game. It's probably are we talking spreads now?
I mean, we can. I wasn't going to get there yet. I was going to go over both games, but we can absolutely go over spread. Do you want the spreads?
Well, I already know
the spread for this game.
We can talk about the game and then go over the spread at the end of it.
Okay,
but
yeah,
I was just going to go over. Yeah, that's my big takeaway for this game for sure. Now we can't use the term where it's tough to beat a team 2 times in 1 year. It's tougher to beat a team 3 times. Whatever.
Yeah.
The Commanders have already beat the Eagles once this year, so that's why I'm heavy on the Eagles in this game, and I definitely think they're going to win. But I would rather see Jaden Daniels get him.
I'm 100% rooting for the Commanders in this
I
game.
figured you were.
Mean, Magic Johnson, go LA. I mean, Magic Johnson's an owner. Jaden Daniels is a baller. I mean, love almost everything about this team. On paper, it's pretty clear who should win this game. Washington, 28 points per game. Philly, 27. Very similar there. On the other hand, like you mentioned, the defense, Washington gives up 23 points per game. Philly only gives up 17, almost 18. The point differential, Washington is 10th. Philly is 2nd in the league. Margin of victory is pretty similar, 11 points per game for Washington, 12 points per game for Philly. So when they're winning by about the same amount. They played similar schedules. Turnover differential is a big one. Philly's plus 11 on the year. Washington is only plus 1. And then total penalties, once again, pretty similar. 111 for Washington, 103 on the season for Philadelphia. But the big jump is the defense, right? Like on paper, this defense is not built to stop Philly, and that showed. Even in the game they won 36-33 without Jalen Hurts on the field. So I have a hard time believing that Washington will win. I thought there was no chance they'd beat Detroit, though. Like I was like, there's no shot. It's going to be a blowout. I would have said, if you would have showed me the final score before the game, I would have said, yep, Detroit won that game, 100%. So who knows? They could totally surprise us. I don't think they're going to rattle Jaden Daniels. I do believe that the weather fits well with both teams. It's going to be about 30 degrees and clear at kickoff, and I feel like both teams can really succeed in those conditions. It's going to be a lot of running, a lot of short, quick passes. Every once in a while, take a deep shot over the middle, that kind of thing, or a deep shot outside to A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith on the seam, something like that. I don't really feel like either offense has an advantage, but I feel like Philadelphia's defense definitely has the advantage. Being at home, cold weather game, I like Philly to win this game. It's the current line. It opened at Philly minus 5.5. The current line is Philly minus 6. I do actually like Philly minus 6. I believe this is going to be a touchdown game. I do not believe that we're going to go into the final 3 minutes of this game. It's going to be 23-20 or 24-27. It's going to be 23-30, and somebody's going to have to go score a touchdown to win. And then in overtime, the Eagles are going to run the ball down the field and punch it in with Saquon. So I like Philadelphia in at least a 3-star. That's me. What do you think?
That's about where I'm at. I'm in between like a 3 and a 4-star, but yes, I'm probably going to be taking Philly here more than likely. I know that everybody wants Washington to win. I'm on board.
I do. I want them to win.
I don't want either team to win. At all. But if I had to lean one way or the other, I would lean towards Washington. for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. I'm
So.
right there with you. I don't want to see Philly win. Let's move on to the Bills at Kansas City game. This one's really tough for me because I kind of don't want to see the Chiefs win now, and I don't want to see the Buffalo Bills get a Super Bowl. So this is really, 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 really tough for me. I got just a couple notes. Josh Allen, 1-4 against Mahomes in the playoffs, 4-1 against Mahomes in the regular season.
Yep, I did see that.
And that's the
saw
way
that
it's
stat.
been. That's the way it's been for them. And then it's 25 degrees and clear at game time. Like I feel like
I don't think the
Kansas
weather's
City.
gonna.
I mean, neither of
Yeah.
them is going to be really affected by that. I'll give you
They're
the
both-
same tail of the tape that I gave for the first game. Points per game, the Bills are second with 30.9. Kansas City's at 15th with 22.6, so big discrepancy in Buffalo's favor. Defensively, 21 points per game by the Bills and 19 by Kansas City, so not a huge discrepancy there. Point differential, Buffalo was third, Kansas City was 11th, Buffalo. Margin of victory, Buffalo was 5th, Kansas City was 27th. Huge advantage to Buffalo there. Turnover differential, Kansas City was the Bills were plus 24, which was the number one team in the NFL this season. Kansas City was plus 6, which was 10th. And then total penalties on the season, this shouldn't shock anybody. The Bills had the 21st least, so they were 12th most in the NFL, and the Kansas City Chiefs had the 4th least amount of penalties called against them this season, which should not surprise anyone after what we just talked about.
Yep.
The refs are going to play a factor. I fully expect them to. There's going to be a couple calls where we're all like, really? Especially when Mahomes goes to roll out of the pocket, he gets hit a little sideways and they throw a roughing the passer. And then on the next play, Josh Allen runs a quarterback draw and he takes a high-low and gets karate chopped from both angles and ends up on his head. And they throw no flag. And we're like, where's the flag there?
Yep.
And it's just, it sucks, but that's what's going to happen. Knowing that, I believe the Buffalo Bills should win this game. On the road or not, they should win this game. It is really hard to beat a team twice in one season, though. But on paper, they are the better team. Josh Allen needs to say, "I'm Josh Allen, and I'm here. Like I'm gonna do this now. Like this is there is no more like." There's no more doubt. I'm gonna win this game. If I have to do it by myself, I have to do it by myself. I'm gonna win this game.
Well, that's what I was gonna get to. That was kind of my big thing to look at for this game. So the Chiefs have a very good rushing defense. The Bills are very good at running the ball. You saw it against the Ravens. The Ravens, their defense was questionable, kind of. I mean, we were high on them we talked about it a few weeks ago. This Ravens team if they lose a game, it's going to be because of the defense giving up points. I don't think it was really the reason why, but the Bills.
No, the reason why was Mark Andrews.
Yes, but the Bills, they still had a ton of rushing yards against the Ravens. I don't think it's going to be a similar case this week. I do think the Bills are going to run the ball. They're going to get a few plays on it, but I think it's going to come down to Josh Allen. Josh Allen is going to have to pass for more than, what did he get last week? 126 yards passing?
Yeah. So I'll tell you 126.
That's not going to be the case this week. He is going to, the Kansas City defense gives up the 18th most passing yards.
So when they played it at Buffalo back in November, the Josh Allen had 262 passing yards and the Bills team at 104 rushing yards. And they won 30-21.
Yep. So that's probably going to be similar today, not today, on Sunday. Josh Allen's going to have to show up. He's going to have to make the right decisions in the passing game. He's got to limit his turnovers. He can maybe afford one turnover, but if he starts throwing a couple picks, it's going to be rough.
Yeah, so, I can agree with that, and I'm gonna
my eyes on this game are going to be all on Josh Allen and see how he handles this.
I'm gonna, I believe this is gonna be a 24-27 game, unlike the other game, right? Like this is gonna end somewhere in the mid-20s, and it's gonna be a close game to the end. You're gonna, the 14-second game. You can just go back and forth all day. It's gonna be a close game. however you want to look at it. And opening was Kansas City minus 1.5, and then it's currently Kansas City minus 2. So I believe Buffalo should win this game. I got to take Buffalo in this, and I'm going to 1-star it just because it's the Chiefs, 15-win team, or 16-win team, not 15-win team. Oh God, man, Buffalo should win this game, and somehow Kansas City is going to, and it makes me so mad that we already know that. What do you got?
So my thing is the Ravens are a much better team than the Houston Texans are. The Houston Texans look like they made the Chiefs struggle a little bit.
Yeah.
The Chiefs didn't look phenomenal. That game was close for the majority of the game.
Yeah.
Until I'd say the fourth quarter is when it really started getting just a little out of hand. But I mean, we had it was close. The Texans are not. I've been saying the Texans were overrated all year.
Yeah. We both said that several times.
Yeah, this team does not look like they should on paper. The Bills just beat the Ravens, a much better team. And I mean, man, just based on last week, how the Chiefs looked and how the Bills looked, the Bills should win this game.
Bills should win this game?
The Bills should win this game. And that's why I got to take the Bills, and I'm going to 2-star it at least. I'll go up to a 2-star. I'll go up to a 3-star. I'm a little more confident.
Bills are currently plus 110 on the money line, and the public is going to hammer that. The public is going to hammer that, and that scares me too, because when the public hammers, that's never a good thing. Yeah, I can't bring myself to bet against the Chiefs. Can't bring myself to bet against the Bills right now. I don't like the betting in this game. The over/under is currently 47.5. And I like the over on that. I like an average of 25 points. I like the over on that. I like them getting to 50. Anything 50 or 49.5 and below.
I picked the over in the Rams-Eagles game, even though it was a snow game.
Yeah,
and
snow game always hit the over.
It still hit. So
yep, always hit the over in a snow game. All right, you got anything else you want to add to the show before we hop off here?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, well, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see y'all next week, and have a good one.